Welcome back to the Lipoedema podcast. We are your host, Shell.
And Tiana. And tonight we do not have a special guest. It is just us. And we seldom get the opportunity to just chat together on this podcast. I think next season we might be a bit more diligent at scheduling our own little chats up. But tonight we have the privilege of just having a chat, and we really wanted to delve deep into the topic of body image, because I think we all have a story that influences our self-perception of our bodies, and the good, the bad, and the ugly. And tonight we wanted to share our journeys with our body image. So Shell, I'd love for you to kick off, because I know you talk a lot about this on your Instagram page, and I'd really like to get some history from you about how you first how your body image has evolved over your life.
Oh, thank you, babe. Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. And I guess it would be different if I wasn't where I am right now. Like if I was still, really affected by it. But my earliest memories are probably grade 5 or grade 6. I remember I got really sick and I put on a lot of weight. Like they gave me medication and I put on a lot of weight. And so then I was just teased and bullied, and it was just awful. Like it was really awful, especially going from just an average kid. Like I was always taller, like I'm 5'9", I think. So I was always taller, but at that age, like grade 5 and 6, like your whole body's starting to change anyway, like puberty's hitting. And then I had to go on this medication, which was an appetite stimulant. So then, I was sick and I'll have to dig out photos, but my face is just this big puffy face. And that really rocked me like that. So then I was just a fat kid, just a fat kid. And then I had to start high school. So starting high school, I went on a heap of diets because, as we know, when you're not happy with something. And I actually, a bit of a side note, the more I think about this, it actually has probably saved me, because I was picked on for my weight, and that's something I could change. You know what I mean? Whereas, if I was picked on for, I don't know, my nose or some other feature that I couldn't easily change, I think that might have saved me in a way, being the big girl, which is a bit bizarre, but yeah. And I'm 50 this year, so I was born in 74, and there's not a lot of clothing stores back then for larger bodies. Like it was really hard to find clothes. There wasn't as much stretch material. So even that, like I had to dress in, I couldn't dress nice for a kid, because my mum had to make my clothes. And, that really affects you too, you can't express yourself as well. I did have this one friend in grade 6, and actually I'm going to meet up with her in Perth, which is pretty cool. But we used to get her mum's sewing machine and we'd make like little costumes together. Like she was tiny. Her name's Michelle. And so it was Shell and Shell, and we both had brothers named Scott. So it was the weirdest thing. But and she was like this tiny little blonde, and I'm like this 5'9" chunky brunette. And we used to make matching outfits. It was the funniest thing. But yeah, so they were my earliest memories of, just being different, not fitting in, and then knowing that I had to change it, or feeling I had to change it, not knowing, but like all the messages were you have to change it. And that was coming mainly from family, and whether it was out of concern for my health or whether it was just because, I don't know, judgment, I'm not sure. But it was mainly came from, because I didn't have the media as much back then. That wasn't a big part of it. But definitely, family was a big part of it. How about you?
They probably see you getting picked on for your weight, and want to protect you from it, but by protecting you, they're sort of encouraging you to lose weight. And that's it's a hard thing to pinpoint the best way to do that, even with love. Like, to comment on someone's weight or to try and influence someone to lose weight, I don't know the right way to like position the words other than teaching healthy lifestyle and just making sure someone is living healthily, in whatever size body that means for them when they're healthy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, like I said, like there wasn't a lot in the media, but then there also wasn't a lot of education that living in a larger body is okay. You know, that doesn't define us. So I guess that's that double-edged sword. You didn't have it all there, but in your face, like you should be like this. But then you also like my family was just doing the best they could with the skills they had, you know, and there wasn't a lot of education on this sort of thing.
And so back then in the 80s or something, so when you were in sort of primary and high school and all of that, what kind of diet culture was there? Was that the low fat movement, or do you remember?
Yeah,
what it
definitely
was?
low fat.
Yeah.
Low fat, yeah. Everything was low fat diet foods. Yeah. Yeah, from memory. I remember Diet Coke and and the diet jellies.
Yeah.
Yeah, they featured pretty heavily in my teenage years.
Yeah, so it's either that fake sugar that we now I don't know if we know, but we now sort of suppose that some of it is carcinogenic, or it's the low fat stuff. And of course, to replace the flavor in low fat foods, they up the sugar and the preservatives. So that also can't be good for us. So you're just you're receiving all these messages to eat these quote unquote healthy things that are going to reduce your weight, but it comes with other health concerns.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we know so much more now, don't we?
But we still have so much more to learn. And I guess the issue is that not only are we all so different and individual and have different needs, but our environment is forever changing. So the soil isn't as nutrient rich as it was even in the 90s. It's consistently being depleted of all its goodness, and the meat that we're consuming is, you know, factory farm raised animals which are fed antibiotics and grains, and, you know, the food quality is no longer great, and we're paying a premium if we choose to pay for higher food quality, but soon that's not going to mean much because we don't have that control over the environment to be able to have that nutrient dense food.
Yeah, that's right. And it's all shelf life, isn't it? Like you buying food, you think it's fresh, but it could have been frozen. It's where's it come from? It's been in transit. Like it is really hard to buy just fresh. Like you have to pick it off your back tree, grow an apple tree and pick an apple. But then even the nutrients in the soil, yeah, everything is just, yeah, it's a lot different. It's
a
definitely
lot different. And it comes with its challenges.
Yeah, that's right. And so did you ever experience any body image issues as a child or a teenager?
Yeah, I did. So interestingly, as I first started puberty, I became very round and quite large. So I was quite an overweight, chubby young girl from probably grade 6 to grade 8. So for those few years, I was very round and pudgy. And then I remember in grade 9, I just shot up and became quite tall, and a lot of that weight sort of moved upwards and started to make sense on my body. But those few years that I lived in a larger body were incredibly influential, and like you, I got bullied, especially in the dancing world. I mean, I was dancing since I was 3 years old. So I was living a very active life. So most days I would be at the dance studio either before school or after school or both. And almost all day on a Saturday, every Saturday, I would be at the dance studio. So it's not like I wasn't an active child. So the bullying was pretty rough at that time in my life. I didn't quite understand it, and there wasn't really much that I felt that I could do about it. But also it was the 90s and it was still the low fat movement. And I have a mother who lives in a larger body as well, and who I have witnessed have a lot of bad thoughts around her own body image, and a lot of, really challenging diet culture in her life as well. So growing up in that space, you kind of take that on as well. You're very conscious of it. And I think when I then grew into my body a little bit by grade 9, that was great. But because I'd gone through puberty and what I know now, I was starting to develop lipedema, I was still quite a solid girl. I was never a skinny girl. I was solid. I had solid arms and I had solid legs and I had a little waist, but I didn't look like the other girls at dancing. But the bullying stopped because I looked relatively normal and could wear normal size, albeit a size or two bigger than my friends at school and maybe 3 sizes bigger than my friends at dancing. I could wear normal size clothing. So my experience, although influential, was probably less than what you had experienced in that part of your life.
Yeah. And I like that word influential, because that is a time of our lives where the people around us, the things that we're seeing, experiencing, just really impact who we believe we are, that image we hold of ourselves. And as we'll go on to say, like, body image, it isn't real. It's just what we think in our head. So what we see in the mirror, what we think in our head, is just it doesn't match. So body image isn't what you look like. It's that perceived. And so I went through my life thinking I had to be 75 kilos. That was my entire life. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. It was like there was this magic number. I know where the magic number come from, actually. My cousin, she's like 5'11", maybe 6 foot. But she told me one day, she goes, "Oh yeah, I'm 75 kilos." So from like a very young age, that was like, oh, okay, that's the number. That's what I need to be. That was it.
That's so interesting that you say your goal number, because when I was younger, my goal number was 65. And even though I'm tall, but I was around dancers. So it was really, and I knew that I would be heavier than them because I was taller, but like they were, 61 and in the 60s, early 60s. And I was like, well, 65 seems reasonable for me. And then when I became an adult and no longer dancing full time or anything, I was at my fittest looking at about 71 kilos. And that was then always the goal, 71 kilos. And I never, without diet pills, I never was able to reach that weight again for very long. You could get there and then you wouldn't stay there.
I had the same experience, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be exactly the same drug too. I got to 81 once when I was 19.
There you go. Yeah.
I didn't sleep for about 6 months, but I did
so
get
I'm
to that.
assuming we're both talking about Duromine.
Yeah, we are. What a terrible thing. But this wasn't about diets. It's just that image that we have in our head, and from such an age in those formative years, that then we held on to this number, that we had to be this number, that carried
unachievable
through,
number.
an unachievable number. an absolutely unachievable number.
Mm.
And that through our whole lives, like constantly. Like that was my entire life, was that is all I wanted to be. That is all I've strived for. No matter what else I achieved in my life, I felt I wasn't good enough because I wasn't that number.
It's such a shame and it's such a waste. And, I guess because I'm going through another pregnancy now, I really, I'm curious to ask you about your experience postpartum, because you've had 4 kids. So I want to know what that mentality was like after you had each child, when you were sort of cleared to go back to normal life. Like, did you feel pressure at all? What did that look like for you?
I loved being pregnant because the pressure was off.
Oh my gosh.
Because,
Same.
oh my God, yep, I'm fat because I'm pregnant, people. It's all okay. Maybe that's why I had 4. I had, 4 times 9. What's that, 36 months?
Oh my gosh,
36
36 months.
of
Holy.
being
Yep.
pregnant and not having to worry that I didn't fit the mold, that image I had in my head that I wasn't living up to. I got 36 months reprieve from.
That is so true. And Shell, I've never thought of that, but that is so true and exactly what I feel. There is a sense of, I have an excuse at the moment. Like with lipedema, when I got my diagnosis, there was a little bit of that as well. A sense of, okay, I have an excuse for living in a body that's larger than I would expect my body to be with the effort that I put into my body. So I'm not saying that I live in a large body, but I live in a larger body than I would expect for myself, because before I was pregnant, I saw myself getting up at 4:45 every morning and killing myself, like working out. I saw myself, intermittent fasting for 18 to 20 hours a day, all of that stuff that is conducive to exercise more, eat less.
You're putting in the effort.
I was putting in the effort.
Yep.
But then when I got my lipedema diagnosis, there definitely was this sense of, well, I have a reason. The only problem was that reason was silent to the rest of the world. So the reason wasn't visible. Whereas when you're pregnant and you have a belly, the reason is visible to the rest of the world. So it doesn't matter if you have a little bit of extra body fat here and there. People would expect that from somebody who's pregnant. So that is such a good point. It never occurred to me until you said it.
Yeah.
So what happened
I guess,
after birth?
After, I actually was pretty good after. Actually, so there's only 15 months between my first 2 children. So I sort of fell pregnant. I didn't even realize I had my cycle back, and I got pregnant again. But
you didn't
because
have an
of that,
afterbirth. You just went from pregnancy to pregnancy.
So I went to a dietitian because I was concerned. So I went to a dietitian, and so I was really healthy when I had having Hudson. Like I was just eating well. She just taught me how to eat well. And I think, and being pregnant, I didn't have that extra thing on me where this is a diet. It wasn't. It was just me looking after my baby, and looking after my body to carry this baby, because I hadn't really recovered from the first one. And and then after I had Hudson, because I hadn't been looking after myself, I actually bounced back to my normal weight in no time at all. Like it was really weird. So I didn't have really hang-ups about it. But funny story, right? Because my body image is a bit crazy. When I went on to have my 4th child, I was like, 4 kids. Heidi Klum has 4 kids, and look at her. I'll be okay.
Isn't that so funny? Yeah.
In my head, I was like, I could still get to Heidi Klum because we both had 4 kids.
Yeah.
So my warped image of myself was still going, we've got 4 kids, we can still look like that.
Yeah,
Because it
effort
was so damaged
outcome.
still. Yeah.
And it's just that we're obviously not putting enough effort in because we have not gotten that outcome. Whereas now with our diagnosis of lipedema, the effort does not equal outcome makes total sense. It doesn't mean that we don't put effort in, because effort into our health has more benefits than just being at a steady weight, whatever that steady weight is for us. Looking after our health with our nutrition, our movement, and all of that has multiple benefits for our lifestyle, for a quality of life. And it's so hard to do to not focus on being thinner or putting that effort in to have a thinner body. But if we can redirect to having a healthy and long, good quality of life, like that effort can equal outcome, just in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, like we have lipedema. We have to look after our bodies a certain way. We need to put in the effort, even though we're not going to get that outcome. Well, we might. There might be something we do and our body goes, oh, hang on a minute, because we're not just lipedema. And I think that is the thing I've been thinking of lately, because, they still do tell us to follow low carb diets, follow keto, like that is the recommended thing, but that doesn't work for everybody. And I think that that's because we don't exist in a vacuum. There's so many other things going on around us that it's not going to work for everybody, because I know it did not work for me. Like it just triggered the hell out of me when I try all these different things. And then so it's better for me to fix my relationship with food and continue to accept and love myself as I am, than to keep jumping from recommended diet to diet. I'm going to call them diets because they are diets. Recommended diet to diet. Let's not sugarcoat it lifestyle. Let's call it it for what it is.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah.
And I see in your posts that you are catching yourself at all those moments now. And so that's growth, like that's awareness.
Yeah.
Talk us through how that's been for you, because you seem to be catching that really quickly now.
Oh, yeah. How good. I'm really proud of myself at how quickly I do it. And even like going for a walk this morning, I was like, oh, I don't really feel like going for a walk. So I got up, I made a coffee, and I sat in bed and I went, oh, no, I'll go. And I was ready. It took me the extra half hour, but I had the half an hour. And so it was just like not forcing, like, no, you've got to do this. It was more like, how do I feel? Do I feel like it? Let's go. But yeah, on the diet side of things, absolutely. I catch myself quite often. I go, hang on, what are you doing here? But that took a lot of work. Like I've been working on that since 2019. And so it takes a lot. And I'll be talking more into that. I'm actually talking at the conference about that and going through the things I do. But it's really, I'm trying to figure out what to say. It's honoring yourself. Like it's honoring who you are and not just jumping onto the next, because we are we're being sold to all the time. Someone is constantly finding our pain point and trying to fill that for us. And unfortunately, it's the beauty and the diet industry are the biggest ones. So they're going to want you to not feel like you measure up, because that makes them money. So all these clever advertising and our news read, like our feeds are full. Like I'm constantly having people popping up with, try this, do this, and it is really hard to pull ourselves back. But yeah, we've just got to honor who we are and accept all that we are, because there's strength in that.
Oh, so much strength. And I think you're adding a more wholesome intention behind, like potentially your actions may be the same from the outside. So you are going for that walk and you are eating that salad or that nourishing food instead of that junk food. But the intention is, it's not to live in a smaller body. The intention is, I'm doing this for my health. I'm doing this because I know it makes me feel good.
Yep, absolutely. And why is the diet industry gatekeeping a healthy salad? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not theirs. I can have a
Yeah.
salad without being on a diet, and I can have a protein shake in the morning without being on a diet. It's all just food. It's just everything's been demonized, or and we've got to take that back. We've got to
Well, I
take that
find
back,
it fascinating that real food has been put a diet label on it with a negative connotation for a thin body, whereas junk food is labeled as like, carefree and like live life and let go. And, it's so strange because I believe that in my heart. I'm like, oh, well, I deserve this ice cream because I've been good. Like, that's so weird. It doesn't make me feel good. It doesn't make me look good. It doesn't bring any nutrition to me whatsoever. It just brings that dopamine hit. And I feel like that hit of dopamine is labeled as live life, like, seize the day. And it's really backwards.
It is. Just wait for that crash.
Wait for the
But yeah,
crash.
and people, I don't know if it's because I'm in a larger body or if it's just what happens, but people comment on what I eat a lot. I get a lot of
Interesting.
comments on what I eat, like, oh, you're eating healthy today. I'm like, I always eat healthy. I love good food. Like, yeah, I get lots of comments. And like, if I don't have a piece of cake, oh, you're being strong. No, I just don't want a piece of cake. Like, it's weird how we've created this world. But yeah,
I guess you're setting an example, but they're putting the diet culture lens over it. So it's sort of getting lost, right?
yeah,
Which is a
yeah.
shame.
It is, but it's just so insidious. Like it's everywhere. So it's gonna. I'm up for the fight. Yeah. I'll fight it.
And look, so this is probably not the best time in my life to be, investigating ways for me to be healthier and all of that stuff. And I've recognized in myself at the moment that I have a limited tolerance for that sort of thing. For example, I was really excited to get the audiobook version of Jenny Mack's book, the book The Diet Industry Doesn't Want You to Read. And I was really excited to delve into it because I've been so interested since she brought the book out to read it. And so I got myself a copy and I started to read it. And in the beginning, she's going through some of her history, and so many negative emotions came up in me about, because I'm quite empathic, putting myself in that headspace of feeling helpless and hopeless and feeling like I'm in a large body that I can't control. And because I'm pregnant, I am in a larger body that I can't control, but for a very important, different reason that I don't need to control right now. And so I recognized in myself that I'm not well enough at the moment to consume this kind of media, and I had to unfortunately stop listening to the book. And I can't wait for this all to be over so I can go back, because it's the right time. And I guess that message is, even though it's not the right time now, or you're not in the right place now, it's something that we're forever evolving. And I know that I'll get back to a place where I'm going to need that book. I'm going to need to remember that intuitive eating and list and honoring my body is an important message. But right now, when, especially in the first trimester, when all I could really do was eat bloody hot chips or something disgusting that I would never I would never want in my normal life. It was not it wasn't great timing for me.
But that is awesome that you picked up on that. You know, you didn't keep listening and like you knew that it wasn't serving you. So park it. I think, was it Emily that came on and she said, you know, she tried keto, but it wasn't for her right now. So just park it. And I love that because it doesn't mean that we won't try something else another time or that we won't want to learn something else another time. But honoring ourselves and going, no, not serving me right now. I'm just going to park it. Like how amazing are those words? Like I just love that. Like it's just such a it's another thing of honoring ourselves, you know, that we can say, oh, that doesn't serve me at the moment. Just park it.
And I find myself being positively influenced by other people. For example, my husband gave up sugar almost 2 years ago. And I find it amazing that he's still sort of on that track. He gave it himself a year and then he just continued after the year was up because he found it really beneficial. I know I would find that beneficial. And my best friend has been carnivore for quite some time. She did a stint of it, a good 6 months of it, about a year ago, fell off the bandwagon, has gotten on the bandwagon. And I just think I feel so inspired by them doing these things and also witnessing all of the benefits that they're getting, like the health benefits that they're getting from these things. And yep, carnivore is extreme for sure, but she has some extreme conditions that would be supported by doing this carnivore. Same with ketosis. Like ketosis was made for people who were having seizures. Like it's not a living a thin a body diet. It's a medical, prescription basically for a way to eat. And I think if we think of it that way, like these extreme diets are actually a prescription to help us with our medical issues for a time until we could introduce more things back into our diet. But I'd love to be a keto girl. I would love that after my pregnancy. But I don't know if I have it in me, honestly. Because as you said, we're not robots, and I tend to lean towards foods that give me a dopamine hit. And interestingly, during this pregnancy, I found that the dopamine hit isn't hitting. No matter what I'm eating, I'm not getting that. And I'm sort of searching for it, like instinctively. So I will have an ice cream and the ice cream tastes good. And in my brain, I know the ice cream tastes good, but I'm not getting whatever that good feeling is to make me want more and more and more of it. And I tell you, it's so freeing not to have this thing light up in my brain to say I could eat this all night, like gimme, gimme, gimme. I would love that to transition into post-pregnancy and the rest of my life, to not have this big dopamine, like all my systems lighting up when I have things. Yeah. I'm enjoying it.
I want to just go back to like what you said about your husband with sugar and stuff. And 100%, it is the intention, because I'm sure if you go into something with the intention of caring for your body in a certain way instead of shrinking your body, that it will be a whole lot different. So, and that's what we speak about a lot, about that, we want to nourish ourselves. We want to, joyful movement. And I think if you kept that and that intuitive side of things, that I think that's the sweet spot. Like that's the secret sauce, people, that we're all missing, is the way we approach it and the intention.
And I think that, coupled with the fact that my stuff, it doesn't light me up at the moment, it makes it so much easier. So if I was to give up, and I've given up sugar before in my life for certain periods of time, but I always go back because that dopamine hit is always still there, and I'm just trying to avoid it. Avoid the dopamine. If it didn't light up my system, and it's not at the moment, I could see myself doing that successfully. So I'm hoping that this will carry on. Because how good would it be to go to a birthday party and eat a small piece of cake and feel completely satisfied? or go out for dinner with a random people and they go, oh, would you like to get an ice cream? And go, sure, why not? And just get a small ice cream and then never think about it until another opportunity comes where you can share dessert with someone you love or as a connection piece, rather than sitting at home going, I'd like to watch Desperate Housewives and eat a tub of Ben and Jerry's on my own. Like, that's not health. Health is enjoying a piece of birthday cake at a birthday. You
That's
know?
right, being social.
Being
social
social.
and enjoying everything on offer. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's the future that I would like to get to with food. And I know we didn't intend on talking about diet, but I feel like diet is a
It's
really
all part
big
of
part
it.
of body image. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when it's your size that is the issue with your body image.
Mm. Well, it's pain as well, especially with sugar. Like, it's pain as well. It's inflammation and pain. And so that's another thing. Like, you and I really suffer with our food choices. If we make the wrong food choices consistently, our bodies will suffer. And you were talking about a really interesting benefit earlier on in our podcast about your size. And I had one too. The benefit of looking like what you eat is that you know when you are getting unhealthy. So, like, I'll eat a cupcake, I'll eat too much sugar and I'll start to expand. It is very easy for me to put on weight, incredibly easy, cruel, too cruel. But it shows up so that I get those alarm bells. Imagine living in a teeny tiny body and thinking you could eat all of this crap that doesn't serve your health and your quality of life, and you get to 55, 60 and you have heart problems and kidney problems and your quality of life fails. But because you're in a skinny body, you just never knew to be healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a beautiful alarm system, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
The warning signals are always going off for us.
Yeah. So what does your ideal look like when it comes to body image?
For me now, it's more about what I can do. It's not a look. It's more about what I can do. It's more about my functionality, like being able to go for walks, I love traveling. Well, I said the other day, holidaying. It's not really traveling. I like to holiday. I like to check out new places, and I don't want that to be impacted anyway. So my focus is just being able to keep doing what I'm doing now and wearing clothes that make me feel good.
Nice.
So it's got less to do with what I look like, but how I feel.
And how you carry yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. How about you?
I like that. Yeah, I think mine, I want it to be about function. So similar to you, but like, I want to jump on the trampoline with my kids. I want to continue to go, like, I'm obsessed with going for walks, and I'm time poor at the moment, but like, when I go on maternity leave, the fact that I will be able to take baby in the pram for a walk, can't bloody wait. It's going to be the best part of my day. I want to build muscle. When I'm cleared to get back to exercise, I want to build muscle. And because I haven't been exercising or doing any strength training during this pregnancy, which is a real shame, and then last year when I had my surgeries, obviously, like, my fitness and health goals and muscle building goals were sort of put on hold, and I've lost a lot of muscle mass. I'm pretty excited that I'm basically starting from scratch post-pregnancy, and I will see quick gains. Because the thing about working out for your entire life is you don't really see many gains, especially if you work out in the comfort of your own home and you don't have like a personal trainer, which I never did. It was sort of just maintenance. So I wouldn't really see gains. And I'm going to see some cool gains when I eventually get back to working out. And I'm going to build that muscle.
Awesome. And that muscle's going to love it. That muscle memory. You can't wait to move again.
I can't wait to move again. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna positively affect my quality of life. I truly think that muscle is where it's at. Like building muscle is where it's at with health.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Walking and strength training. Everywhere I look, that's what they just walking, strength training, walking. Which comes to like, so I have been walking in the water for the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a bit cold the last few days. So I haven't gone. I'm like, no, I'll just go for a walk because I live near the water. So I'll just go for a walk along the water. And the feedback I get from my muscles after walking on land, I love it. Like in the water, you don't get that because
So
all the weight's
interesting.
taken off, all the joints, everything's taken off. So I just get out of the pool and go, oh yeah, I've been in the pool. But
Wow.
walking on land, it's just that you know you've worked. You know that you've been for a walk, and I'm a bit addicted to it. I'm liking
Nice. I love that. Yeah, there's something about walking. And look, you know, I ran for a time in my life. I did running, and I can't compare anything to the runner's high. The runner's high is real, but it's not conducive to, you know, an older female body where we need to focus on our stress response and nourish our stress response. So like intermittent stress, like, you know, cold showers every now and then, and building, like I want to build muscle first. And I want to protect my joints now. So I don't think I'm going to be running anymore, and I probably won't be dancing, which is sad. But I'll be strength training and I'll be going for walks out in the sunshine.
Beautiful. There's your dopamine hit.
Oh yeah. Who needs Ben and Jerry's?
Right? Hey, there's time and a place for everything, T. Time and a place for everything.
That's right. Exactly. All in moderation, I suppose.
Yes.
Yay. Well, that was...
Oh, my love.
Oh, yeah, we've run out of time. It was so nice to like offload a lot of that, and I'd love to delve deeper on an episode into our experiences with Duromine, because I know that this episode we were focusing on body image, but I think sharing our experiences with things that probably weren't the right choice for us might be a really good thing to discuss one day when we get an opportunity to have another personal episode.
It's our podcast. We can do what we want, right?
I know, but we keep filling it up with guests.
We keep scheduling all our guests in, which is lovely.
It is. We're so blessed. But I'm very, very excited to hear you talk at the Lipoedema Australia conference in June. How's that prep going?
Oh, awesome. So I started going to public speaking classes because it's not that I can't public speak, I've just never done it. And I just kept saying, oh, I'm so scared. But it's not that I'm scared of doing it. I've just never done it. So, and I want to be professional about it. So I've started going to some classes and I've written my speech and I've almost finished the presentation. So that gives me a month to practice because I want to know it as fluently as I can so I'm not looking at notes all the time. So,
yay. And tell us what the title of your presentation is.
Oh, the title of my presentation. Can I even remember? Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Oh my goodness. Self-acceptance, a rebellious act.
I knew the rebel was in there somewhere. I was about to say rebel. A rebellious act. I love it.
A rebellious act.
It's brilliant. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be good. So it's everything I've been doing for the last, 5 years in a 40-minute presentation.
Love that. So keen. Tune in, everybody.
Yes. Yes, it's going to be good.
Shell.
It's going to be good.
Well, thank you for having a chat with me today.
Oh, it was awesome just to get to chat.
I know. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
When we started the Lipoedema podcast, we relied on word of mouth and existing connections.
Our following has happened organically, and we are so honoured by your support.
As we learn more about the world of social media and algorithms, we have a request.
When you are listening to our podcast or watching on YouTube, let us know what you think.
Hit follow or subscribe.
Leave us a comment or write a review.
The more engagement we get, the more our message is shared.
And the greater our reach to those women suffering in silence.
Thank you for listening to the Lipoedema podcast. Lipoedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.